What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Clocks on the Stove, episode 99, college football week 1. I know we had a college football week 0. That shit was kind of ass. So here we are with real college football week 1 starting tonight before we dive into our slate of games that we are going to dissect. Your usual host, myself, Grayson Fisher, with me, holding it down in South Florida, Mr. Zachary Watts.
Covering all of the Southern Peninsula. You obviously failed your job. You let a hurricane hit on your coast. So I think I'm doing a little better in the natural disaster department of life. But, what can you do?
For now.
For now.
Obviously, you see we're repping. We're repping today. Big Florida State weekend. But before
No
we
bias.
dive into that, yeah, no bias. No bias.
No bias. No bias.
Before we dive onto that, that's a Sunday game, Zach. We have 3 other days of the week we need to cover first. Starting us off with today, good slate of games, average slate of games. There's college football on. That's all that matters. 2 games in particular we are going to dissect. Our first one is the Friday night game of the week. We have Florida going to Utah. Utah coming in at the number 14 team in the country. Thursday. Damn, I keep thinking today's Friday. I don't know why. It's the second time it's happened to me. Thursday night, 8 p.m. on ESPN. Florida going all the way to across the country to Utah. Utah coming in at the number 14 team in the country. Utah a -5. Zach, there's a lot of things we could talk about in this game. First and foremost, I think the buzz around this game that everyone's talking about is we don't know if Cam Rising's playing. It has been asked to their head coach, whose name I cannot recall off the top of my head, which is very poor journalism on my end. But it's been asked numerous times if he's going to play. I also believe their starting tight end might not play as well. That does play a large factor. 1,000% that plays a large factor. But does that really play all of the factors? As backup quarterback, let me get to him real quick. The backup quarterback for Utah, Mr. Bryson Barnes, he's not a pushover. I mean, he played last year against Penn State in the Rose Bowl game. Didn't do terrible. I mean, he went 10 for 19, 112 yards, 52% completion with a touchdown and a pick. For your first game coming after a hit that's, one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the country, not bad. On the other side of things, you have another quarterback as well playing for Florida. You had Anthony Richardson, who's probably one of the most generational talent freaks to ever play Division I football. He's gone. You have now Graham Mertz, former Wisconsin quarterback. He was the highest rated quarterback to ever go to the University of Wisconsin. And then he shit an egg, left when the new coaching staff came in because they brought in Tanner Mordecai and actual real quarterbacks. He went to the University of Florida, won the starting job. We don't know if Cam Rising's going to play. We don't know if Graham Mertz got any better. I highly doubt it. And it is in Utah. And one thing I want to point out is I have a lot of friends that went to UF that have been posting a lot of Utah hate shit this week. And they're making fun of their tailgates. And I'm not going to lie, the memes have been pretty hilarious. It's like a Utah tailgate be like, and it's like a bottle of water and a bag of carrots. The memes have been good. But Chris Patterson, former coach for Boise State when they had that weird run that beat Oklahoma, and then he also was the former coach for Washington when they were a powerhouse. He stated in his however many years of coaching, the hardest atmosphere he ever coached at in his life was this Utah stadium at night. It's a Thursday night. There's no other games in the country. Everyone's going to be focused on this game. With or without Cam Rising, Zach, how are you feeling about this Florida-Utah matchup?
Number one, I just got to say I can't agree with the metaphor of shitting an egg. I think eggs are an elite breakfast item. So to say that Graham Mertz shit an egg would be an insult to chickens everywhere.
I agree.
I would say he more so shat an empty plastic bottle because you can't even break that down. So he is the equivalent to an empty Dasani bottle at this point in his career.
He's a reverse turtle.
Yeah, he reverse turtled it. Yeah. This is his nickname for the rest of the year. He's just turtle. He's a reverse turtle in my eyes. Dude is just an enigma. But Jesus Christ. Regardless, speaking of the Boise State coach and his comments, to say that Utah was one of the toughest environments you've ever played in, kind of out there, little iffy on that. You know, no offense to any of my Utahians or whatever you call yourself out there in the
Like that. The Mormons.
Yeah, you're Mormons. But I just don't think you get as rowdy as like a Penn State would, or the Nittany Lions would, excuse me. But you know, regardless, one of the fun facts I saw about this game was Florida has never won back-to-back season openers when it's against ranked opponents, and they're playing away, and they don't have Anthony Richardson, and their quarterback's Graham Mertz, So with that being said, you know, Florida does have things to look forward to this season. I think their front seven is probably their best tool heading into this year. I think they're going to make plays on the defensive side of the ball. I think it's going to keep them in games. The problem is the biggest question mark is, can they move the ball efficiently? You know, as much as we did talk down on AR-15 last year, you know, he was an excellent playmaker when plays broke down. You know, when things were going their way, he was able to make plays with their legs. Unfortunately, Graham Mertz doesn't even have legs, to my knowledge. He is literally just a torso, and attached to that torso is a noodle arm. So he's literally just a conjuncture of just bad things. And it's unfortunate that every time you bring him up, you just have to state the fact that, well, this kid was a really good in high school. This isn't high school anymore, and unfortunately, you are playing a ranked team.
Yeah, that was 5 years ago. So
yeah, you may have peaked in high school, buddy. Unfortunately, regardless, you know that the Utes are playing with Cam Rising, which is kind of unfortunate. He was a baller last year. But
we're
this
not
still
100% sure. It's like a 90.
Well, I'm 90% sure that it doesn't matter because regardless, the Utes are defending Pac-12 champs. Back to back. And this is probably one of the strongest defenses in all of Pac-12, in my opinion. I think they can compete with almost any team in the country on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think they lost a ton of players on that side of the ball either. So with that being said, I think the -4.5 is more so of a courtesy to the SEC school that is Florida, and kind of a respect to Cam Rising being like, well, maybe this team won't be the same without you. Unfortunately, I do think the Utes will get it done regardless. It's payback time, and Florida just isn't going to be able to hang. And I do think it's going to be a rude awakening for them early in the season when their starting quarterback isn't going to get the job done. But I will say, better to have a guy with a noodle arm than a guy that sells child pornography. So, hey, I'll give you kudos in that regard. But enough of this Florida shit talking. I have all year to do that, and I will be greatly looking forward to it. But regardless, I am going to go with Utah -4.5. I think it's a safer bet.
Yeah, I'm also going to take the mine's -5, but it's the same shit. I'm also going to take Utah on that. The way I see this game going, Zach, I see it kind of. So for those that didn't watch it last year, Utah was going on a game-winning drive, threw a pick in the end zone at the very last play of the game. Shit happens. That was at UF though, so I want to make that. That's a very, very big difference of atmosphere.
Okay? The Swamp is a tough place to play.
That's a very different place to play. I also agree with your point. This defense for Utah, yes, listen. This defense for Utah isn't going to be like Alabama's or Georgia's or fucking maybe not even like a South Carolina in the SEC, but they're not a pushover like USC's defense. Like they're going to show up. They're going to shut down runs. If I'm Utah, my key for success is stack the box, make Graham Mertz beat you one-on-one. You know they're going to come out trying to run the ball. They want to establish the run that's going to help open Graham Mertz the most. They cannot rely on him. They need him just to make the easy A to B plays and let the offense build around him. The other thing I want to state is I think UF is going to come off kind of hot, and then they're going to start trickling down as the game goes. Well, I think Utah is going to keep a consistent pace and maybe even pick it up in the fourth. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to be excited because this is the first big game of the year. But at the end of the day, I don't see anything that Florida brings to the table. I also kind of feel bad for Billy Napier because I feel like they put such high expectations on him right off rip. And then there's like, he's just getting shit on. Once again, there goes my theory. Why did you fire Dan Mullen? You know?
Dan Mullen is a great
He had
coach.
one bad season. He had one, and it was like they went 8-4. They weren't even that bad.
Yeah, no, I look at Dan Mullen. He's a great tacticianer and a great coach. But the problem is Florida is so caught up in their recruiting trail. And the problem is he never got any of the big time recruits that the Florida fan base wanted. So they kind of pushed him out. But dude, who gives a shit who you're bringing in if they're not putting
the
up
SEC championship, bro?
Yeah. Like what who cares if he's bringing in 3 or 4 stars? If he's making them play like 5 stars on Saturday, then that results matter.
Yeah.
But apparently, who are we to say? Who are we to say? You know, you only went to FSU because you didn't get into UF. Yeah. You care about your prerequisites. You don't care about your test results.
Yeah. What's your preseason ranking? Yeah, none, 0, doesn't exist. Thank you. Moving on, another game tonight, also at 8 o'clock on Fox. We have a Big Ten matchup between Nebraska and Minnesota. Minnesota coming in at a -7. I don't really have too much to say on this game. There's a couple points I want to make. First of all, this is like two opposite spectrum teams, in my opinion. We're going to look at Nebraska first. They're a former powerhouse that has not been relevant, honestly, since they moved to the Big Ten at all. Gone through coach after coach. Finally got a guy in Matt Rule, who I'm a huge fan of. I'm not a Nebraska fan whatsoever. Big Matt Rule fan. Matt Rule led Baylor to one of their best seasons ever. Then he went to Carolina and the NFL, shit the bed, took a fat paycheck to shit the bed also, mind you. Then came back to Nebraska, which I believe he might be somehow associated with Nebraska. Everything I've seen on him from preseason to his speeches and everything, dude, I gotta admit, I am a fucking big Matt Rule fan. I think he's an awesome leader of men, and I think at this level of football, leader of men is what creates success. On the other end, and Nebraska, like I said, they're a team that's trying to get their momentum back. Look at the other end of things. Looking at Minnesota, who was a team that kind of a couple years ago, PJ Fleck's first year, they were really hot. Signed PJ Fleck like a 10-year deal, and then they've slowly been declining. On top of that, you have all this PJ Fleck, quote unquote, hazing allegations, which I think are complete BS. So it's kind of a weird game. It's like, is Minnesota going to be like, nah, we're fine. We had a 1 to 2 year layover. We're back. Or is it going to be like Matt Rule's got Nebraska on the right track? I don't really know who's going to win this game. I'm probably not going to watch it. I think the game will be boring as shit. But I just think there's a little bit of a story to go with this game.
Yeah. You're right. It is the battle of two sides of the spectrum. Excuse me, as I drop my writing utensil.
This guy.
But I do think Nebraska's in an interesting spot where you are bringing in a coach in Matt Rule that's played at the highest level of football. He's seen the cream of the crop and how to work at that level. And you've seen a lot of guys have success. Well, he's already had success at the collegiate level. He's just going back to it. And, it is a transition period. He doesn't have a lot of his recruits. He doesn't have a lot of the guys that he would want at this current moment in time. But that's what's going to prove whether or not he's actually a really good coach. I do think his tactics translate well into the college game. He can kind of abuse athletes at this level compared to as the NFL. Everyone's an athlete. Like, you're not going to be anyone by.
You mean abuse athletes as in have guys that are more athletic than other guys on the defense and vice versa?
Yeah.
Not
yeah.
Not like PJ Fleck allegations.
He's going to out PJ Fleck. Yeah, he's going to try to out Fleck a man. But regardless, I just, in that regard, I just mean more so where like you try to beat guys with speed or like try to force the defense into weirder looks where you try to get blown coverages, beat them over the top, stuff along those lines where you force other teams into the small mental mistakes that allow you the upper hand. Whereas at the pro level, that just does not happen as much. And if that's not going to win you games, college level, you can get away with it. And at high school level, you literally build your team.
Yeah, it's what good high school teams are.
That's what you do. Yeah, essentially. Regardless, I don't really know how this game's going to go. Again, I can't watch this, unfortunately. Or wait, is this a Thursday night game?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I won't be able to watch it. I'll be at work. So
they won't throw a game on the TV. Not even the Florida game.
We don't have a TV at our job. It is when I tell you I've begged and by the way. Let's go on a little side right here. If you are opening a restaurant, you need one TV.
Yeah, you need something. I need to see something.
Yeah, I don't care if it's a 32-inch Roku that sits 85 feet away from the bar where you have to squint to even see a sliver of a man running on a screen. You need some visual distraction. At least for your male audience. Because let me tell you, for how many times I've stood around in a restaurant and my mind wanders to some deep, dark places, I need something to just mentally numb me.
Check you back in. Just be like, hey, over here.
Yeah. Little quick snap. Unfortunately, reading labels in the refrigerator is getting very boring these days, and football season's coming back. So
That is just stupid. How are you a restaurant with no? You don't even have to be a sports restaurant. You can just have anything on. Like you should have some sort. People eat food. They want to look at things. They don't want to just stare at each other's eyes. Once, you know what I mean? Like I want to look at something.
it needs to be studied in a lab. Why? Like you've seen all those memes where it's like me when I eat food without YouTube, or it's like
Yeah.
And it's like people just like, I'm losing my mind. Like that, I wonder how people sit down at this restaurant. I'm like, dude, you're on a date right now. I'm like, you're looking your date in the eye for extended periods of time.
Well, she's just slapping a Hawaiian pizza all over her face.
Well, let's be honest. She's eating 2 slices and then saying she's full. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Yeah, facts.
I'm not gonna lie. I've seen some potential starting D linemen house some pizza in my time. I'm not gonna lie. I'll give the big girls their credit. They can put down a salad from time to time. But regardless,
games.
Jesus Christ. I'm gonna lean towards Minnesota. That's just kind of like my feel for this. I think Matt Rule is gonna need some time to get back into the swing of things. And it's not like Nebraska's at a point in time where like we want to win. It's just like it's more so like their fans are like, do we even know what winning is anymore? Like, can we even like wake up on a Saturday and feel happy?
3 things I want to state real quick before we move on from this game. First, the quarterback for Nebraska is now the former Georgia Tech quarterback in Jeff Sims, who's a Florida boy from Jacksonville. That'll be interesting to see how he runs that offense. Second thing, Eric Gilbert had a very fascinating video come out of him this week. I don't know if you've seen that, Zach. The tight end for Nebraska that broke into a store and was met by 15 police officers walking out. Poor kid, man. Who knows what happened with him? I mean, he went from Georgia to LSU there. Obviously, a lot of bad things. Third thing I want to state has nothing to do with football at all, but how fucking awesome was it to see Nebraska's women's volleyball sell out their football stadium? I think it's awesome. I'm all for it. I think it's a great way to show that women's sports can also be profitable. You just need to attack the right sports. It's something we have been preaching on this podcast for a very long time. If you invested the money and time and your intentions and attention to professional women's volleyball the same way you did to the WNBA, you would see a margin of profit, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I really do think so.
Here's another thing that really kind of just bugs the shit out of me is when I saw that post, it made me really happy to see that like women's sports are getting the respect they deserve in their own regard, and like people are showing out to these games. I mean, dude, they packed out a massive stadium. And you go to the comments and people have the dumbest takes like, oh, tickets were $14. Like,
it doesn't matter, bro.
Who gives a shit?
Put a normal person there in a normal sport for free and they wouldn't sell out that fucking stadium.
Yeah, exactly. And then other people are like, why would you even get seats in the nosebleeds? You can't even see them. Dude, people go to NBA games and sit in the fucking rafters and they don't see. Dude, when we went
UFC Orlando.
Yeah, when we went to UFC Orlando, we were literally at the top and we're like, damn, we can't see shit. And we were like, we love to be here though. Like,
yeah, but it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was. We still did it. Like that. That's the point. Like that's the whole point of going to sporting events. You don't really care about like the specifics of like, oh, I need the perfect seat so I can like analyze.
It's the atmosphere. You're there for
the atmosphere. Yeah. It's being there. It's enjoying the sport with other people that enjoy the sport. I'm so happy for Nebraska's women's volleyball. I hope to see more things like this in the future. Keep breaking records, keep setting the standard, and let's just get more involvement and spotlight into women's sports in the right way. That's all I want to see. I'm tired of seeing too much negativity in my life. But regardless, we have another interesting game to talking about. Colorado at TCU.
I think you skipped one game. You skipped one game I want to go over really quick.
Oh, Battle of Miami.
Yes, we have the Battle of Miami. I don't know the last time this game happened. We have Miami of Ohio traveling down to Miami, Florida to play the Hurricanes. The Miami Hurricanes coming in at a -16.5. This game will be Friday night, 7:00 on the ACC network. I have nothing else to say other than the fact that if Miami Hurricanes do not cover this 16.5 spread, they need to change their name to Miami of Florida, and the Miami of Ohio becomes Miami. That's my personal opinion. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. I don't know if I can agree to that. I think you got to beat them to take it. You can't win by points in this. You know,
If they
you
beat
can't.
them, though, it's fully agreed they need to switch the fucking name.
Yes. I am with you on that, but it's kind of like a championship fight. You know, you got to beat the champ to be the champ. So, you know, they're not gonna judge his decision their way through this. What I will say is I'm actually leaning towards Miami, Ohio to cover the spread, because if you look in recent years under the Cristobal era in Miami, U of M has not done a very good job of beating down unranked opponents as they should. You know, they're really not putting, I guess, their foot on the throat of weaker opponents. They kind of always lower themselves to the level. You know, I will just throw one game out there, that Middle Tennessee game last season, where it just looked embarrassing to be a Miami fan. Like, it just really wasn't a good showing. I will say, Miami on the recruiting trail and in the transfer portal did land some pretty solid players from other schools. They did bulk up in positions that they needed to address. However, I just don't see Miami covering the spread. Like, they just haven't done it in the past, and there's no room for me to believe that they're going to do it, especially the opening game of the season against a school whose quarterback, his name is Bert Gerbert. I think his
That's
name.
tough.
I think that's his name. I'm probably so wrong about that. Let me. Oh, Brett Gabbert. Sorry, not Gerber.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Gerber. His name's Gerber Life from now on to me. He's the Gerber Life baby.
Shout out Charlie Dean.
Yeah. Gerber Life baby, 97 cents a day. Anyway, yeah, I just have no reason to believe that the U of M is going to come out here and suddenly prove to everyone that they're any different from years past, despite their upgrades in certain positions. And I do think the Red Hawks have a reason to come out here and try to play to win. You know, this is the team that looks beatable. They've played down to other teams' levels, and they can come out and prove something to start their first game of the season.
Yeah. I completely agree. I will not be watching the game, though. I'm just gonna let you know that right fucking now. But moving on.
I don't think their fans will be either, though, because the Hard Rock.
Oh, there'll be nobody there. Yeah, there'll be nobody there. Moving on to the next game, like you were already talking about, Saturday, opening up our games on this weekend. Colorado traveling to TCU. TCU, number 17 team in the country. This will be on Fox Sports at noon. The odds are TCU coming in at minus 20.5. Listen, I understand the Colorado hype. I understand the transfers they got. I understand you got Dion. They are going to get smacked. Okay. If you see what Dion did in FCS, he did what we talked about earlier, and he got better athletes and used them to win. When it comes to Power 5 football, which this is the Power 5 matchup, the games are won in the trenches. It's an O-line, D-line battle. And Colorado ain't got no O-linemen that they got in the transfer portal. They got hella receivers. They got some DBs. They got a running back. They got a quarterback. They didn't really get the big boys. And I think that's where TCU is going to bully them. I think TCU is going to come out. I think Colorado's going to come out with all this swag. And I think they're going to come out good in the first quarter, and they're going to slowly start getting withered away. TCU is going to bully them with the big boys. They're going to bully them with real defense. Do I think Dion can turn Colorado around? Absolutely. I think there is way too much hype bought into it for him doing it right away. The other thing I want to state is I'm extremely disappointed in Dion for bashing Florida State and being like, I'm not a Florida State Seminole. I'm a HBCU grad. Get the fuck out of here, Dion. Like, I love Dion. I think he's a great leader of men. I think he does a really good job at helping these boys, but I think he does say some shit out of his ass to get clicks, and I think that was one of those things. And as someone that when Derwin James got drafted, you were there, and you were like, "We do it for the Florida State, baby!" Like, get the fuck out of here, bro. Why are you gonna start bad mouthing Florida State now just because you're the coach of Colorado? There's no beef. Like, you don't need to be attacking us just because we're way fucking better than you. Okay, I think TCU, regardless of my hatred, I just think TCU is a more overall better football team, and I think they did a really good job I believe they got a couple good transfers. I love Sonny Dykes as their coach. Yes, they lost their quarterback in Duggan. They're in Texas, bro. You don't think they have fucking 15 Duggans on their fucking roster? They're gonna be fine. I really think this is gonna be a statement game that's gonna eye open for a lot of people. I don't know if they're gonna cover the spread. 20.5 is a lot, but I think they're gonna go out there and they're gonna whoop Colorado's ass.
Yeah. You know, I kind of view this in terms of Colorado and where their team's at this point. It's kind of like if Quentin Tarantino were to announce that he's releasing a movie and they say it's coming out like next summer. And then fans are just like, I want to see it now. And they're like, all right. And then they just put it out there right now. And it's like 2 scenes long. And they're like, this fucking sucked. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is what I paid for. Like, well, obviously, you didn't sign Dion and expect him to win a national championship overnight. Like, no one's expecting this out of you. But you do have a lot of eyes on you because people are going to watch the kind of birth of what Colorado is supposed to be. You know, you came into this program with a lot of hype, a lot of expectations, and people are going to expect results. Albeit some are delusional and think you are going to just go 12-0 out the gate.
Yeah, which people believe. There are people that believe that.
There are also people that believe the earth is flat. But you know, I'm not here to point fingers or call anyone out. Regardless.
Julian.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that. Stick to wrestling, buddy.
Wrong, Julian.
Oh my god. Yeah. I think that really just put into words just how I visually perceive Julian. Because if you were to told me that if you were to told me that Julian believed in a flat earth, I'd be like, yeah, that checks out.
That checks out.
Yeah, that fits. That fits. Regardless, yeah, I think TCU is just going to absolutely bully Colorado. You are going to see moments in this game where you can see where Colorado is trending in the right direction. But then again, any direction is better than being at the bottom of the mountain.
They were 1-11 last year.
Yeah, they were very bad. And they brought in a whole new roster, a whole new team, a whole new coaching staff. Nothing is the same. They even brought in new uniforms. So literally what was Colorado is Colorado no longer. And with that, I am going to say it's going to be a very rough start. Their schedule is not easy.
No, they have a really hard schedule.
Yeah, but I respect that. You know, you're not running from anyone. You're not running for competition. It's better to play the best of the best and see where you're at and find where you can improve rather than just beating up on a bunch of nobodies and then, hey, getting like a credible bowl game at the end of the year and then getting your butt whooped. Like there's no like glory in that. There's no honor. So, you know, I do respect their strength of schedule. I do respect the image or the kind of ideal that we're expecting out of them. I just don't think it's there yet. So I am going to go with TCU in this. Again, staying away from the spread. I just don't know what to expect out of Colorado. But gun to my head, I'll probably take TCU covering, if I'm being honest.
Sorry, folks, we had some technical difficulties, but right back to our slate of games. We have a weird one that I don't really care to watch and don't even think it's going to be that exciting. I just have a funny joke I want to give on. We have Nevada playing at USC. USC coming in at -38.5. This is a Saturday night, 6:30 on the Pac-12. First of all, USC is probably going to cover the spread because Nevada is not very good. USC's defense is very suspect. Don't think that's going to be an issue in this game. Another thing, also USC with back-to-back terrible games just shows that Pac-12 doesn't schedule real games. Last thing, Nevada posted last week on their TikTok a video of them dancing, talking about how excited they are to win their first game. And it's just a picture of USC's logo on their cell phone while they're dancing. That is going to be viral this week after USC blows them out.
Yeah, I don't think this game is going to be remotely close. Look, I know all the jokes that we've been running about how USC is going to have to put up 50 points a game if they want a chance at winning out this year after they gave up a slew of touchdowns to San Jose State, who's not necessarily known for their overpowering offense. You know, it's not good to see when Lincoln Riley, is throwing out just random defensive sets and positions just to see what works. Like he's just out there like testing the waters and game time. So that's not a great sign for how your defense is going to shape up to be. However, it does help when the team you're playing gave up a combined 110 points to Air Force and Incarnate Word last year. So the spread is 35. I think they're gonna cover that pretty easily. You know, Nevada didn't even win a single conference game last year. And they didn't even win a game since their loss to Incarnate Word. So it's not going to be another good season either. I know it's only their second year under their new head coach. So you are trying to build in the right direction. Not happening.
Yeah,
Sorry,
having
USC
USC
is going.
I swear.
Yeah, this isn't going to be remotely fun or close for anybody. Caleb Williams is just going to put up probably like four. Yeah, that'd be disrespectful. Five or six touchdowns, 400 something yards in the first half, and then the only way Nevada is going to cover is if they somehow find a way to put up 2-3 touchdowns at the end of the game to like cover the spread. But yep, this is one of those games where USC is going to have to score 50 something points to win this game, and they're probably going to score like 70 or 80. Honestly, they're a team this year that I probably want. Like, they have the capability to, and a lackluster defense too, where they can score 100 points in a game, and they should at least once, just for the memes, because the score bug would never be lived out. It would probably live on forever.
Yeah, I agree.
USC's TikTok would probably just of the score bug with the phone.
Yeah, we lost a game this week. Doesn't matter. We scored 100 2 weeks ago.
Goddamn.
But our next game, it's not a very big game, but if you like college football, it's a very intriguing game. UTSA is an in-state Texas game. University of Texas San Antonio is traveling to the University of Houston. It's at 7:00 on Saturday on FS1. UTSA is actually the favorite, -2. UTSA had an historic season last year, getting like 11 wins, signed their head coach back. I mean, that's 2 years ago. They've been on a tear, killing it with a great quarterback, great running back duo. Houston just they were on the opposite. They got Dana Holgorsen and kind of started falling off. And I was a big Dana Holgorsen fan after what he did at West Virginia. And they're now in the Big 12. This can be a fun game. You're going to have a lot of kids that probably grew up playing against each other in high school. It's in Texas, a little Texas versus Texas rivalry. I don't know who's going to win. I don't even know what's going to happen. I don't even need to know that many players on each team. I just think it's a fun game to keep your eye on, because UTSA has the opportunity to start their season off with an upset on a Power 5 team and an in-state rival.
Yep. We're kind of just throwing it back to last year. Last year, triple overtime thriller. Houston won it in, which was amazing.
That's right. Yes.
Yep. And then you have Houston's head coach pulling the Tom Brady quote out of his ass, where he's like, nobody thinks we're any good, so let's just line up and see. That can be intimidating in hindsight, but when you say that before the game, it's kind of like do you even believe you're good? Like, are you even good, bro? But I really have no idea how this game is going to turn out, especially after last year. I do think UTSA, after having a historic season, you are more likely to trend in the right direction, especially on the recruiting trail. Did they lose either of those running backs?
I don't know. I think their quarterback was a dog too, if I remember.
Yeah. I know one of them's back at least, though. Or no, excuse me. The quarterback is running it back. Excuse me. Yeah. Threw for 4,000 yards last year on a 70% completion rate with 32 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Yeah, he is solid. The coaches love him. They say it's like having a coach on the field. He knows their playbook in and out. He does everything the right way. Couldn't speak more highly of them. Regardless of that, I don't know what is going to happen in this game. I know I'm trying to do some last second research.
It's going to be a fun game to watch.
Yeah. This is Houston's first game in the Big 12.
Yeah.
At home.
Yeah.
So, this should be really exciting for them. They have a lot to look forward to. They already sold 40,000 tickets, so it's going to be a packed house. They will have that advantage playing in their favor. Let's see.
That's all I really got on that game, to be honest.
Yeah, week one's always hard. You don't really get as high explosive as you'd like teams to be. You don't really know how you're going to come out. It tends to be a little more low scoring, even though both these teams are known to be high scoring offenses. But with that being said, I'm going to lean towards UTSA, even though it is in Houston. I just think, if you have that good of a quarterback, he's probably going to be more the difference maker in this game.
I will admit, have you seen the uniforms Houston's wearing in this game?
No, I've not.
They're wearing Houston Oilers throwback jerseys.
Oh, that's
It's
fine.
tough. It's
Yeah, that's
tough.
well, if one thing I know for certain, it's that anytime, and this is the history of ever in any sport, anytime a team brings out a sick uni, they lose. That's just how it is. Like I can't remember a time a team brought out a sick uni and then won a game. It's literally just they're like, oh my god, look at these sick ass uniforms. Like, oh, they're gonna win again. They go out there and they just lose. And it's like, well, can't wear those anymore. Like literally, I vividly remember Florida State's game against Virginia Tech when we broke out the All Blacks for the first time. And I was like, oh, this shit
I
looks
think it was
dope. And then we
ACC
got
championship, right?
no, it was the first game of the year against
Yeah,
VT.
yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. Because we had high expectations for the season because it was like the first year of the Taggart era.
No, that was
And
Georgia
then,
Tech. It was Georgia Tech.
no, it was Virginia Tech.
Are you sure?
I could bet my life on it. I could bet because I'll never forget VT. We came out first and I was like, oh, dude, we look sick. And then VT came out to enter Sandman and I was like, we're going to get the fuck out. I was like, this isn't going to be close.
Damn. But moving on to our next game, we have a border rivalry game, which I feel like it's not getting talked about enough. It's probably due to the fact that one of the teams suck. But West Virginia is going to Happy Valley and Penn State. Penn State, number 17 in the country. This game will be Saturday night, 7:30 on NBC. Penn State, a minus 20.5 favorite. They got a promising new quarterback. There's been a lot of hype and a lot of buzz about this kid. I want to get his name correct before I do anything stupid. It's not, is it? It's not Sean Clifford. Who is it? It's the new kid. Fuck, I don't remember the kid's name. Nick Singleton's coming back. He was their freshman running back last year. Who was a dog. This game like had the potential to be a big game. West Virginia just sucks balls, and it sucks because there was like a good 5-year span where they had Trickett and they had Dana Holgerson, and they were like a very good top 15, top 20 team. Now they're just falling off. I think it being the border rivalry would keep them in the game for a little bit, but I think Penn State can cover the spread. I think they're going to kill them, and Penn State's the hardest place to play in the country, in my opinion. I think them in Death Valley. I think it's the two hardest places to play. Will be a cool. It's an interesting game though. I like when we get to see new games, new rivalries brought into light.
Yeah, I always love like the video that constantly was reoccurring in my social media feed was when Michigan played Penn State and they had the like Mo Bamba playing and Penn State was so loud that they couldn't even get a snap off. That was electric. I think we're going to see something similar, especially with the high expectations that we have for Penn State this year. You know, there's been a lot of debate of like which Big Ten team has the best chance of starting the season 6-0. And I think Penn State honestly has the best chance. You know, this is probably one of their toughest games. And if they can get like one of their toughest games within the first 6 weeks, and if they can get by this, then they'll probably cruise to 6-0. And if you have Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State all at 6-0 halfway through the year, the Big Ten's in for some big things.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of how I see it going down. And you definitely don't want to be the team who's supposed to contend for Big Ten championship, lose your first game of the year. That's just unacceptable. It can't happen. I do think it will be somewhat competitive early on, but the way Big Ten football always plays out is they make it more entertaining in the first half. It's more of like a sloppy, close played game in the first. And then in the second half, the bullshit comes out. And then you start to see where real teams show themselves. I think Penn State is going to pull away towards the later end of this game. They're more likely to make the bigger plays happen, whereas West Virginia just probably won't have the depth or the kind of magic, I'd say, to get them through this game. So I'm going to take Penn State in this. And then I'm not covering spreads for any of these games week one. I don't know what I'm seeing out of these teams. It's not fun.
We would need a whole lot of Tavon Austin highlights to win this game.
Yeah. You need 20 minutes worth of his film. You would need like 10 minutes worth of his film tape to win this game.
Yeah. Our next game